All right, so today I wanted to talk about this tweet from Spencer Fernando, and he says, "Why vote conservative to get a carbon tax that's more statist than Trudeau's policy? To get a police state imposed by a conservative premier? What's the point? Conservatives need to wake up and realize your conservative parties have lied to you, used you, and betrayed you." Um, this is something I've been pointing out for over a year now, and well, actually, way over a year since at least before the last federal election. Um, and yeah, it's just becoming more and more true. I mean, it's again, I'm wrong about some things, absolutely, but it's really annoying and kind of frustrating to have to be so right about a lot of these fundamental things in society, and yet people still don't listen. Um, and again, I understand people's argument. Again, people's argument is, oh, we got to get Trudeau out of office. Well, but the argument makes no sense for many reasons. I mean, the first and most obvious one, what's the point if you get Trudeau out of office, but you end up with someone that's pretty much the same? Like, again, this is the thing that you need to bring up to these people. Like, what fundamental thing is Aaron O'Toole going to do that's better than, like, Aaron O'Toole may be slightly better than Justin Trudeau. I would acknowledge that. But there's nothing fundamental he's going to do that's going to change Canada. Like, nothing. He still supports the carbon tax. He doesn't seem to want to get rid of all the business killing regulations, which I mean, the carbon tax basically is that. He doesn't really want to cut taxes in any way, shape, or form, at least that I'm aware of. Um, I mean, he talks a big game on guns, but again, considering he's continued to move further and further left on other issues, I don't trust him on that one. Like, he hasn't really spoken up with when it comes to free speech. Like, again, like, what fundamental thing can you point to that Aaron O'Toole is going to do to change things? I don't know. I can't think of anything. And this is the thing. Traditionally, you have been able to think of things, right? Like Jason Kenney done a terrible job, but at least he's doing a half decent job when it comes to defending the oil and gas sector. I think he could be doing a lot more, but at least he's doing something. At least he's opposing the carbon tax. Same goes for like Stephen Harper. Again, a lot of complaints when it came to him, but at least he did some half decent things. But Aaron O'Toole, I can't think of anything. Right? Like Jason Kenney isn't even good enough for me to suggest anyone vote for or vote for. And I don't even think it's close at this point. Like, and Aaron O'Toole is even worse than that. Right? So again, people say, "Oh, we got to get Trudeau. We got to get." That's the, again, that's the same thinking of the people who voted for Biden with Trump. Right now, again, they were successful, but that's because the mainstream media is so biased in their favor, and the election was obviously. Um, I guess I can't get too much into that, but again, people know what went on with the election, at least if you have a functioning brain. Um, but again, that's the thing. Like, what is Aaron O'Toole doing that's fundamentally different? Again, people saying, "Well, what did we do? What did we do?" Well, you have a handful of options. The first and most obvious one too is that, again, the liberals are going to get in one way or the other. Like, again, the liberals are, I think, if an election were held tomorrow, it's looking like they would get a majority, right? So again, this idea that, oh, you just blindly vote O'Toole and hope for the best, like, no, it's not going to happen. So what you would do is vote PPC or don't vote at all, right? And if you ask me, right, again, I don't think PPC is perfect by any means either, but at least have the guts to vote to actually vote for what's right. I mean, I genuinely don't really understand people's reservations when it comes to this kind of stuff. Again, I do understand their reservations, but their reservations aren't valid, right? Trudeau's going to win anyway. Like, Aaron O'Toole's alienated the West to such a degree that there's no way he's getting in, and he hasn't picked up hardly any support in the GTA. That seems to be his whole strategy, is that he doesn't really care. Well, I mean, his strategy seems to be, I'm going to move to the left in hopes to pick up votes in the GTA and hope that people in the West just blindly vote for me. The reason why this strategy is so terrible is neither one of those things are true. People in the West, I mean, he still is overwhelming. I mean, conservatives still have overwhelming support in the West, but it's going down, right? It's clearly going down, and he isn't picking up hardly anything, if anything, in the GTA, right? So it's a terrible strategy. And this is the thing when it comes to the conservatives. I would rather them lose, like lose, but actually have, live their values, support their values, than win and not do it, right? And if you disagree with me on that, again, we have absolutely nothing in common, and there's nothing you can say to change. But like, again, anyone willing to compromise their morals, their ethics, their values, and just an attempt to win, again, we have nothing in common. And again, like that's probably the first thing that I would do to never. It's the same thing with the liberals, right? The liberals do that all the time, right? They pretend to care about racial minorities and gays and women and all this kind of stuff, when in reality they don't. They just want power, and they'll say whatever needs to be said to get that power, right? So again, like that's the first thing that I would look for when it comes to considering supporting someone. It's, do you actually practice what you preach? Do you actually believe in the values that you're talking about? And that seems to be few and far between when it comes to politicians these days. In fact, I'd say 99% of them, that's how it is these days. It's unfortunate, but that's what we get, right? Because people nowadays have no integrity, no morals, no ethics. They like to pretend they do, but they really don't, right? Most people just go along to get along. Again, when it comes to George Floyd, prime example. Do people care about the evidence? Do people care about the reality? No, right? When it comes to George Floyd, again, prime example of how people act these days. There's three kinds of people when it comes to the whole George Floyd situation, I think. There's the people that actually look at the evidence, that actually think critically, and point out the obvious. Cops probably didn't handle things perfectly, but at the end of the day, George Floyd died of a drug overdose. He didn't die because he had a counterfeit bill. He didn't. No, that's he died because he had a counterfeit bill. He could have just gave the cigarettes back, right? Could have just gave the cigarettes back. He refused to do that. Cops show up. He resists arrest, right? George Floyd had multiple opportunities. He could have just gave the bill back, right? That would have saved his life. How hard was that? Or he could have just gave the cigarettes back. Would have saved his life. He could have not resisted arrest. After resisting arrest, he could have just gotten in the cop car, right? He had multiple opportunities. He didn't do it. There was multiple experts. One of them, even the prosecution's expert, said that Chauvin didn't use excessive force, right? So the reality behind it is the guy shouldn't be in jail. He shouldn't even have been charged. How many? Again, I could go on and on and on about reasons, but again, how many people that point that out? Not most people. Then there's the two groups of people, right? There's the people that know that the cop isn't guilty, at least not nearly to the extent that he's being charged with, but they're afraid of being called a racist. They're afraid of the mob going after them, in which case they just side with the mob. That is most people. Then there's the third group of people that just have absolutely no ability to think critically whatsoever, and they make their decisions entirely based off emotion, right? Same goes for this stuff, right? Same goes for this stuff when it comes to politics, right? And that's why the conservatives just don't understand this kind of stuff. I've pointed this out a lot before, but if I was an advisor to Jason Kenney, to Doug Ford, to Aaron O'Toole, and my goal was to destroy the Conservative Party or the UCP party in Alberta, I don't know what I would be doing different. I mean, if my goal was to destroy the party, to alienate as many people as possible while still giving the politicians the illusion that I cared, I don't know what would be doing differently. I genuinely don't know. And that's why I bring this up so much. Like, again, for all, and this is the thing too, for all the people who say, oh no, we gotta, conservatives is our only way out of this. Okay, well, speak out as much as you possibly can about this, because, and it's not like they're trending in the right direction either. They're not, right? They're not. You can't even make that argument. So again, I genuinely don't get it, right? I genuinely don't get it. Um, so yeah, I mean, like again, I don't get it. Now, what would the conservatives need to do to gain back support? It really isn't even all that. I mean, at a federal level, I don't know if there's anything they could do to get elected at this point because Canada's as a at a federal level has gone so far off the deep end, it's not even funny. But all they have to do is just actually be conservative. Stop again. Aaron O'Toole and even Jason Kenney, to a large degree, again, they're more worried about what the CBC thinks of them, about what people who will never vote for them in a million years think of them, than their own base, right? Again, the vast majority of Jason Kenney's base and Aaron O'Toole's base do not support lockdowns. But have they ever acknowledged that? Have they ever tried to, um, you know, branch out and kind of acknowledge these people? No, right? Not once. I mean, actually, Jason Kenney did once, but then he proceeded to lock everything down again the next week, right? So again, they have not passed up an opportunity to stab their base in the back, right? So if you're someone who's still a conservative supporter, you need to be acknowledging this stuff and you need to be calling these people out for this stuff. Again, I don't think you think it's going to fall on deaf ears personally, but if you're not doing that, you're supporting the demise of Canada and of Alberta, right? So again, the writing's on the wall, right? The elephant in the room is getting hard to ignore. Again, the conservatives' way of going about things is seems to be let's move further and further to the left in an attempt to win elections, but anyone with half a brain knows that's not going to happen. Again, I pointed this out a million times. How the people advising these people haven't figured this out is beyond me, but if you're a conservative politician, you should know that it doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter how far to the left you go, you're not going to please these leftists. It's not going to happen, right? Why they seem to keep trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is beyond me, right? Like I genuinely don't understand these people's strategy. It's like I said, I think their strategy seems to be is that they're trying to screw things up. Right? Like if I was Jason Kenney and my goal was to alienate as many of my supporters as I possibly could over the last year, like I said, I don't know what I would be doing differently. I genuinely don't. How he thinks he's going to win the next election is beyond me, right? Again, his play seems to be I'm going to try and be as have as much of a middle ground as I possibly can, but it's not a middle ground. It's not a middle ground, right? The again, I don't get it, right? I'm trying to come up with logical things to why they're doing what they're doing, but I can't. There is nothing logical, right? There is nothing logical to what they're doing. So that's pretty much what I wanted to bring. And again, let's just leave on the whole carbon tax thing. Again, like you're not going to get elected as a conservative politician supporting a carbon tax. It's not going to, not anytime soon, at least. Right? And again, Aaron O'Toole, like again, like his goal seems to be is that I gotta be a moderate. I gotta be as moderate as humanly possible. But again, it's like I said, if you're on the left, you don't vote for a conservative no matter how moderate they are. Right? Again, look at Trump. Like look again, whenever you bring up Trump, people's minds just go insane. But it's a prime example of why nothing can change people's minds, no matter what happens. Again, going in the 90s and in the 2000s, basically during the entire Bush and Obama presidency, the biggest complaint of Republican and right wing politicians in general was a handful of things. Number one, they're too pro war, right? They're too pro war. Number two, they're too socially conservative, right? And number three, again, they support the drug war. Those were the biggest concerns. Okay, Trump, the most anti war president in at least a generation, supported gay marriage, supported marijuana legalization. Did that change anyone's mind? Did I hear one person say, yeah, I'm a traditional Democratic voter, but I'm changing my mind because of that? I didn't see one person do that, not one, right? So the Aaron, again, if Aaron O'Toole's strategy made sense, you'd think that people would have been changing their minds left, right, and center. No, but they didn't. They didn't because when you're on the left, and this happens a lot on the right as well, but it's more prevalent on the left. Um, if you're on the left, there's nothing a conservative politician can do to change people's minds. And when I say nothing, I mean literally nothing, right? It's like I always brought up. Aaron O'Toole could adopt Justin Trudeau's exact platform. He could say I literally agree with Justin Trudeau on absolutely everything, and even take it a step further in some ways. I think that would change maybe 1% of liberals' minds. It wouldn't even be close to enough to get him elected, right? So, in a nutshell, if you're a conservative politician, the only thing that's going to get you elected is actually being conservative. Trying to move to the middle is not going to work. I mean, look at the last two elections. Look at the current polling numbers. How has it worked? How did it work for Andrew Scheer? How is it working for Aaron O'Toole so far? How's it working for Jason Kenney? It's not, right? I don't know. Again, at the end of the day, I don't know why they keep trying to do the same thing over and over again. And the reason why it's most frustrating is that Canada is a sinking ship right now, and our only hope of the ship not going down is getting some actual conservatives in power. Which again, actual conservatives are few and far between, but I do think Maxime Bernier is one of them. Do I think that he'll save Canada? I don't know. I don't know, but I think it at least gives us a fighting chance, right? So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you check out those links below. Follow me on those other platforms if you haven't already. If you want to donate, you could do that as well. Again, I would very much appreciate whatever support I can get, but at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe and stay tuned for more.